Hey guys, in today's lesson we are going to discuss about mistakes in bill of quantities. Mistakes in bill of quantities is one of the most important aspect while you are preparing the bill of quantities. Okay, so let's get started. We will discuss all the point one by one, and I will try to give you some of the examples that will help you definitely to understand it more clearly, and in future you will avoid all these mistakes so that your work will be much effective. The first thing is error in the measurements takeoff process when quantities are taken from the drawings. Okay, so this is a common error that we have seen. While taking of quantities from the drawing, there is a chance of mistake. So this mistake will definitely due to a lot of reasons that we will further discuss in this particular document. But the thing is, for example, if you have a 10-meter length and inaccurately you are measuring it as a 12 meter, or you are measuring as a 8 meter, so it's mean that your takeoff or measurement is not correct. And the quantity is the basis of the bill of quantities. It's mean that if the quantity is wrong, your cost will be wrong, and if your cost will be wrong, your total will be wrong. And uh, as a consequences, I wrote down one note that is BOQ contains the cost deciding factor. So the cost means that quantity into unit rate. Okay, so if the quantity is not right, it's mean your total cost will not be right. Okay, so if you put this kind of faulty work and full of mistake work to the client, they will definitely reject your work altogether. Okay, so this point is very important. Your quantity should be accurate, must not be inaccurate. Okay, the second point is inaccurate or insufficient information is given to the description. As I told you, that description is very important because it will tell us that what we need to do. Okay, for example, description is telling you that we need to have a concrete work, and in concrete work, what kind of concrete work is this, whether this concrete work is in cost in situ or this concrete is pre-cost concrete. Then after this, somebody will need that how much, what is the concrete mix design will be followed. Okay, it is M10 M15, the ratio is 1 to 4 111 and so on. Okay, so if this information is missing, bill of quantity will not be accurate. Okay, so to avoid this mistake, you need to know that this description will be fully available in the bill of quantities. The third point is discrepancies between key documents, that is BOQ, drawings, and specifications. So as a quantity surveyors, these three documents are very holy for you. You need to keep these documents all the time with you, and most of the time you have to work on these three documents. Okay, so in my experience, I have seen that whether newcomers or some experienced quantity surveyors, they are avoiding specifications. Okay, but the specification is giving a understanding of the work and full scope of the work. Okay, so I consider these three documents as a triangle. If one document is missing from the triangle, so triangle does not exist. Okay, so this BOQ, drawing and specification, is important. So sometimes what happens, that BOQ is saying something else, drawing is not supporting the words of the BOQ. It's mean that there is a discrepancies. For example, if we are using a gypsum board in the ceiling, and in the ceiling BOQ is showing that we need 15.9 mm thick gypsum board for the false ceiling work, but on the drawing it is showing 12.7 mm. So it's mean that there is a discrepancy. The number 4 point is not to following the latest drawing. This is one of the most common uh, mistakes that we have seen when we are working in the construction project. So this is mainly due to the laziness, and the document controlling system is, if it is not effective or efficient, so there is a chance of this kind of mistake happened. Okay, so if you are not following the latest drawing, it's mean your estimation, your work is useless. You don't need to do any work on the outdated drawings. it is only waste of time, or you can only practice yourself to make things good for you in the future, but for the project it is not useful. Number five is lack of understanding of work method. So most of the time when somebody start their career as a quantity surveyor, so they came and directly sit in the office. Okay, so they try to figure out and try to visualize that how things are working, but they don't know what actual method of work is basically considering on the site. So for them it is very difficult to understand all these steps. The fifth point is work in haste to meet desired productivity through guess. So again, this is a kind of mistakes that is not only in the BOQ, but when quantity surveyors or assistant quantity surveyors, they are working for the takeoff process. So sometimes they are lack of focused. If they are not focused, they will make silly mistakes, silly errors. Sometimes they want to show themselves to their seniors, and they are in haste, so sometimes they in haste, so they are missing most of the simple uh, yet important information to get the productivity better. Okay, so this kind of guesswork is also causing or leading to the mistakes in the bill of quantities. The next point is copy paste BOQ items. Okay, so copy paste when we have any document previously, so we are very quickly respond and try to make them things very quickly and easily, but from the previous project without digging deep into the actual project requirements. Every project in construction is lasting for maybe years, so every project has their own requirement. You cannot replicate one project to the another one. You need to get the documents from the previous project. It will be helpful, but it is helpful when it is 100% similar to the project what you have done previously. Okay, so if it is not, it's mean that you cannot take this kind of risk, and if you are going to take this kind of risk, it is definitely end up with a disaster. The next step is inexperienced estimator, that we have seen a lot in the field, in any kind of field, because this is something out of control. A person who is newly joined any organization or system, he needs some time in order to understand all this estimation techniques, procedure and process. Okay, then we have seen the arithmetic and calculation errors. So I consider this arithmetic and calculation error is because of the lack of focus, and also sometimes in haste and overthinking on the single point. Okay, so let me give you an example of this arithmetic or calculation errors. I am taking you to the Excel sheet. This is the BOQ in which I want to divide this different work into subtotals. What I will do, I will just take sum of all this from here to here at this point. Okay, so here I can see that this full dimension is covered as a sum. Okay, so what happens when there is a mistake in the calculation or arithmetic error? So what they will do, they will do like this. Okay, and they feel that they understand that they did right, but actually if you see that this one uh, item number one is missing altogether here, so it makes a huge difference. This huge difference is you cannot cover anywhere in the Excel. When you double click over here, you can see that this is not included, so you will just simply drag it to the upward direction and fine, it is fine. But once you printed this one as a PDF, at that time it is almost impossible to find out the error. Okay, so this kind of arithmetic error should be avoided. Afterwards, excessive items included in preliminary, irrelevant items from another project, that nature is changed and behind the scope of the current project. Okay, so what it means basically, so preliminary is something that is a kind of temporary work that to facilitate the project. For example, site offices, uh, roads connecting to site offices to the site, actual site. Then there are parking, there are some offices for the staff, for project manager, project directors, CAD operators, and all this. So this is called as the preliminary things. So I am taking you to the actual BOQ that I did the project, and you will see how much the difference is. Okay, so these are the preliminaries, as you can see, and everything whatever we are basically studying here, we will definitely see on our Excel sheet so that you can understand according to it. So this is the contractual quantity. So when client asked to put the prices, so these prices were put, and these all items are considered as a preliminaries. But when the project is finished, the remeasurement has done. As you can see, there are a lot of items. It is written that these items are not used. Okay, so these items are not used. It's mean that these all items are basically copy and paste in this project. Okay, and the actual requirement is 0. Again, you can see here, this is not used, this is not used. So if you see the total, that initially the budget was allocated at 755,500, and when the project is finished, only the work is executed for 83,000. Okay, so the difference is 672,000. It's mean if we see the percentage, in the percentage, the only 11% work has done compared to the contractual work. Okay, so this is basically a disaster, and this will not show accurate things what is basically expected from any quantity surveyor or cost consultant. After this, we have the next point is irregularities in the BOQ not following proper order. Okay, so sometime if the BOQ is not made according to the standard methods of measurements, so it's mean that there is a chance of irregularities. Okay, so we will discuss about how to avoid these irregularities, but irregularities cause a lot of confusion. So we need to group all the things according to the sequence, and this sequence should not be disordered. So last point is lack of monitoring of takeoff and BOQ preparation stages. So two important aspects to avoid the mistakes in the bill of quantities. The first is there must be a good experience senior estimator, quantity surveyor, or cost consultant who will monitor takeoff process from very closely. So once takeoff process is basically did according to proper supervision, the 50% or half of the job will be done. Okay, so these are all the points that we discuss, and I hope you understand, and this will help a lot when you start doing your work as a quantity surveyor. Okay, so if you have any question, just let me know. Thank you so much.